So, alcohol and relationships, well, they don't mix particularly well. For one reason or another, they just don't seem to be the best combination. So in this video today, I want to talk to you about how being sober has made my relationship infinitely times better. I've got a story to tell you that's just happened recently in Thailand. I think you'll find that quite funny. And then I want to talk to you about drunken relationships or relationships that revolve around alcohol, especially when I was drinking, and how they differ to today, and how this relationship that I've got at the moment that doesn't revolve around drinking, it doesn't revolve around alcohol. I obviously don't drink. My girlfriend drinks very little, but it's a different type of relationship. I want to talk to you about the contrast between the two and how things have changed as a result of me getting sober. So I think you guys are gonna absolutely love this video. Hey guys, Leon Sylvester here from soberclear.com. Now very quickly, just before we get into this, I've just finished off a brand new training showing you exactly how to use first principles thinking to get full 100% control of your drinking. So if you want to get access to that training, there's a link in the description. That video, you guys are going to absolutely love it. If you want to get in 100% control, make sure to click that link below. So I just want to kick things off with a quick story. So I have a girlfriend called Or, and you guys may have seen her already. I'll show a bit of footage of her on the screen right now. She's beautiful, she's lovely, she's a Thai, and absolutely fantastic girl. And so we live in Chiang Mai in the north of Thailand, which is a city, second biggest city in Thailand. And my girlfriend comes from a city called Mae Sot. So if you imagine Chiang Mai here, Bangkok is here. She lives kind of in the middle, on the border. The city is called Mae Sot. And recently it was Christmas, and she had to go home to take her grandma to hospital. So my girlfriend went home, and I had to stay in Chiang Mai to keep working. Anyway, so she's travelled home, and I had to go and pick her up. And it was a Saturday. A couple of days ago, and I had to drive to Mae Sot, 6-hour drive, absolute mission, right? It's a very far drive. But what has recently happened in Thailand is there's been a COVID outbreak. So freaking COVID is going COVID crazy over here at the moment. Like there's getting a lot of cases, it's getting quite serious, starting to lock down again. All that stuff is happening here now. And what happened is I drove to Mae Sot. I got to Mae Sot, 6 hours in the car. And then I got there to the border, and there was like soldiers at the border of getting into the city. And they said, "Oh, foreigner, where's your passport?" I'm like, "Well, I didn't bring my passport. I don't usually travel with my passport." They took me to the immigration guy, and the immigration guy's like, "You cannot come into the city. No foreigners allowed without passports." I'm like, "Geez, what the hell do I do?" So my girlfriend had to drive with her auntie and her mum, and they came to pick me up, and they spoke to the immigration. They let me back into the city just for that evening, and then we had to leave and go back to Chiang Mai that day. Bizarre, right? I can take my, it was all a bit crazy. So anyway. It was when I got to my girlfriend's house, and my girlfriend is actually, her parents have just built a new house, it's really cool. And we got there, and she was packing her stuff. And that's where I was like, whoa, wait a minute, how cool is this? Like, it's a Saturday, right? And I have just driven 6 hours. I set off at 9 in the morning, and I got there at like 3 o'clock, whatever it was. I've just done it on a Saturday morning. And I kind of had to take a second and just go, wait a minute, it's a Saturday morning. Just a few years ago, on a Saturday morning, if you thought that I was going to drive for my girlfriend 6 hours on a Saturday morning, the chances are is that I probably wouldn't do it, because I'd probably be hungover. I probably wouldn't have the energy. There was just no chance that I would have done something like that. Okay, there might have been a small chance, but either way, the point of the story is that it just felt really good. It felt really good that I was conscientious, I was conscious, and I was able to go to pick up my girlfriend. And that's a beautiful thing, right? That's a great foundation for a good relationship, is being somebody that is able to give. And it all just hit me, and I was like, I felt really satisfied. I felt, I'm going to say it, I felt a little bit proud. It felt really good. And I just wanted to share that with you guys, just to kind of, I just thought it was a cool story. What I want to share with you now is a little bit about relationships that I've had in the past where alcohol was involved. So if you guys don't already know my story, I'd tried to stop drinking for such a long time. I tried going to AA, I tried using willpower, tried all of this stuff. And there was a point where I was sick on a MacBook Pro, destroyed my computer, and then I stopped drinking with willpower. I moved to Oxford, and when I was in Oxford, I was sober, I was working on a personal training business, and I got into a relationship. And whilst I wasn't drinking, I'm just going to be 100% honest with you guys right now, whilst I wasn't drinking, that relationship was pretty good. It was a pretty awesome relationship. And what ended up happening is I relapsed. I went to a New Year's Eve party, I had just one drink, and the voice in my head, I was looking at these people thinking, oh, alcohol looks like a really good thing again. And I ended up drinking. And what ended up happening in my relationship as a result of this relapse is, well, I stopped being as much of a giver. And I almost started living this double life where I'd go and drink with my friends, and I wouldn't really tell my girlfriend that I'd gone and done that. So, I'd have like these hangovers and she wouldn't really know. And it was almost like I had to start doing this double life again. I'm telling you, if you are having a double life in your relationship, that is a recipe for failure. It's not a very good recipe, right? When you're there to not really give and you're doing these things behind each other's back, it doesn't really work out particularly well. And basically, like, the connection that I'd built whilst being sober, it all just kind of fizzled out. And I was just kind of thinking about myself again, and I was being very selfish in the relationship. And we just ended up breaking up, right? It's kind of like the natural cycle. When somebody being selfish and not being a giver, not really somebody that you'd want to stay with. And I'd had like these very short, fickle relationships with ladies in the past when I was a drinker. Like, I just wasn't very committed, and I was always very selfish, thinking about what can I get, what can I take, and so on. And the relationships that I had that revolved around alcohol, they just weren't that good. I'm just going to be 100% honest. And if I kind of look at the contrast of what just happened going to pick up my girlfriend on a Saturday morning, the contrast is it's very apparent. And now, these days, the relationship is totally different. And I want to share a few things that have changed, that I've changed about myself, that have made my relationship so much better. Because I do believe that when it comes to a good relationship, there are two ingredients. Number one is choosing the right person, right? You've got to choose somebody that's got the characteristics and the qualities that you like. But the second thing is that you've got to be a good person in the relationship. It's so important. It's arguably the most important thing that you need to get right, other than choosing the right person, right? Of course, that's very important. But then it's all about who you are and what you give to the relationship. So that's the first thing that I want to talk about, is that in this relationship now, I'm more of a giver. I give a lot more in this relationship. In the past, it was kind of like, what can I get? What can I take? It just wasn't about what can I give. I don't think like, what can I get from this relationship anymore? I just try to give. I try to create a nice life for my girlfriend, and I really just try to like put my energy and put my time into building something good, something enjoyable. And it's a big contrast. When you approach a relationship with what can I give as opposed to what can I get, you just naturally end up getting more. And I've heard this before in a society that I was in, and they were always like, what you give, you will get. And you can kind of go to these, it's like anything, right? What you put in, you get out. And it's the same in a relationship. In my relationship these days compared to the past is that I give a lot more. Another great thing about being fully sober in a relationship is that I'm a lot less grumpy and a lot less angry. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm hungover, you better leave me the hell alone, because I'm just going to grouch, I'm going to snap. I just don't want to talk to you, If I'm hungover and you're like, oh, Leon, why don't we do this? Well, just leave me alone, man. And I'd be very moody and a little bit arsey. And that's not a very good recipe for a relationship. When you've got that grumpiness and that moodiness and that just overall crappy feeling, well, it's very hard to show up in your relationship, be at 100%. So that's definitely something that has improved tenfold. I don't have those grumpy feelings. Okay, I'm not perfect, right? Nobody's perfect, but my mood is so much better, which means that I don't get annoyed about the small things. Let's say in the past, my girlfriend may have dropped something on the floor and broken a vase, and I might have just had like a burst of anger, right? Because I'm grumpy and I'm hungover. These days, it would just be like this. Okay, no problem, let's pick it up. So the mood is so much better, which just creates a much better environment for a relationship. Another great thing about being sober in my relationship is that I have a much deeper sense of connection. Like, I feel very connected. It's quite hard to put this into words. I'm not very poetic or romantic when it comes to talking about this stuff, but I feel connected. Like, it's very hard to describe, but compared to this fickle surface level relationship, there seems to be more layers to it now. That's maybe a way to describe it for you. So I feel like we're just connected, like, rather than kind of connecting like this, where you're just like, your friend, you're like close. It's more like, really closely connected. And don't cringe too much when you watch this, right? But you get the point. I feel a lot deeper sense of connection with my girlfriend. And the final thing is that I feel like because I'm a better person overall, the relationship is just so much better. So because I work on myself, I've started building this business, looking after my health and fitness, I'm reading more, and I'm creating a better version of me. And when you create a better version of you, you show up better in the relationship. And I think that by being sober and doing what I've always speak about on this channel and moving forward and going towards that better quality of life and really trying to push things to the knife's edge, well, that changes the game in a relationship. When you're a better person, you can lead your relationship so much better. Everything's so much better because you can really, hold yourself to a high standard and help the people around you hold themselves to a higher standard. So just by being a better person overall, the relationship is just beautiful. Anyway guys, a bit different to usual. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what your thoughts were in the comments below, and if you click the videos on the screen now, you can learn more about the one thing that got me to stop drinking forever, as well as the reframing technique. Thanks a lot.